Hello, this is Dr. Rosie Kuhn, and this podcast series is called Spiritual Immersion, Taking the Plunge. And the intention of these podcasts, this series, is to support and empower you to cultivate awareness and cultivate a relationship with your spirit self, the self that doesn't get much attention in our 3D world. Lots of times on Sundays or Saturdays, depending on what your religion is, there's a focus for that period of time, but then it kind of sometimes, lots of times, gets diluted or forgotten, or we distract ourselves from those spiritual principles that we talk about, but we don't necessarily practice. And if we don't practice if we don't walk our talk, in essence, we just talk our talk, then we don't actually ever allow ourselves to have the direct experience of that which we speak about. A lot of times people will say, oh, I know about that, or yeah, I say that all the time, whatever it is. But to know it is to experience it. To know it is to have the direct experience of it and immerse yourself in the process or in the experience itself. So that's what these podcasts are about, is to support and empower you to take the plunge and have the direct experience of being you with you. So one of the elements of this practice of being you with you is to recognize and acknowledge that sometimes you're having a physical experience while you're having a different emotion. It doesn't seem to fit the physical. You may be having mental thoughts at the same time, or you might be feeling vibrations or a humming or a buzzing or something that is different, that doesn't seem to make sense in the moment. So we call this the both and sometimes people can actually have two emotions going on at the same time, or different body sensations going on at the same time. It's not unusual at all. In fact, it's very normal. But how we acknowledge or recognize or cultivate awareness of these different things that are occurring at the same time, we just aren't trained to do that. And yet it's part of our everyday experience of being human and being a human spirit. So for instance, I have my children live in Canada, and I love them a lot, and I want to go see them, and so I can be excited and look forward to seeing them, and at the same time I can have some sadness that I miss them. Or I'm loving that there's some abundance coming into my life in terms of the quality of people that are coming in, the quality of financial support that's coming in. There's a lot of wonderful abundances that are occurring in my life. And at the same time, I'm feeling anxious about, where's this coming from? Why is it here? What's happening? And so the part of me is like, oh yeah, this is that, in terms of this is what happens when you're in alignment with your highest truth, your highest knowing, is the abundance flows much more effortlessly. And at the same time, there's a part of me that goes, wow, this doesn't make sense. It can't last long. And my mind starts to race. So here's this knowing and this experience, and sometimes this experience of gratitude and the experience of calmness and peace. And at the same time, there's this anxiousness. And so quite often people are unsure about what is that, or they see one and they don't acknowledge the other. And if we can acknowledge the both and, it's this and it's that, then it makes it easier to accept that this is just part of being human. Another way people put this or talk about it is, I'm really feeling a lot of gratitude. I'm just using this as an example. I feel a lot of gratitude for the abundance that's coming to me, but I don't trust that it's going to stay, or I don't. But the but is not the both and, where we're acknowledging both. We kind of are acknowledging both, but we negate one. We negate I'm feeling a lot of gratitude. I'm feeling more stable. I'm feeling more peace. But there's this part of me, okay? So it's a really great exercise to go, I'm feeling gratitude and peace, and I'm feeling this tranquility, and I'm feeling much more inspired. And there's another part of me at the same time that's experiencing some dread, some waiting for the other shoe to drop, that's anticipating something going wrong. So, in acknowledging both without negating one or the other with the but, we're able to hold both and say, yeah, this is true. And there's this part of me that has a different reality. Because the truth is we live in different domains. We have a mental domain, we have a physical domain, we have an emotional domain. We can call these fields: mental fields, spiritual fields, emotional fields, physical fields. We can call them whatever we want, but we exist on these different levels. And if we go, oh yeah, my emotions are expressing this, when my mind is expressing something else, and my body is doing butterflies or whatever, then we're acknowledging all of it, as opposed to, no, I can only have one thought at a time, or one experience, or one sensation. It's like, no, it's all the above. It's kind of when you're looking at your computer screen, or maybe a long time ago, when I was growing up and the color TVs were just coming out, you could see the different pixels. You'd see, you might be looking at what looks like green, but when you look closely, you see yellows, and you see blues, and you might see some reds. You might see some different variations of what's happening, but it looks like green. So it's kind of the same thing in our beings. As we're being with what is, we are experiencing different sensations. And so to clarify that for us, to acknowledge and recognize and discover, it allows us to have a greater bandwidth of awareness to what is and the isness of this moment. Sometimes we're experiencing the both and of I'm feeling anxious about the future and thinking about the past. It's like, well, here's what's happened in the past that's making me anxious about the future. So here's a thought that creates an emotion of anxiety or angst or fear. Or in the past, on my birthdays, I got, a big party, surprise party. So I'm looking forward to that anticipation. So sometimes our past will, or the thoughts of our past, this is Gracie who barks on occasion. So I apologize about that, but she's pretty good. Right, Grace? We anticipate sometimes the future based on our past. And it can make us feel anxious or excited, one of the two, or something else, sad or mad or bad. But if we're clear about, oh, that's a thought, and that thought created this emotion or this body sensation, now I can go, oh, that's the thought, and here's what happens in my body, or here's what happens in my emotions. And we begin to see connections of one with the other. So if I went, in the past, I had, for my birthdays, a big surprise party, but I don't know that that's going to happen. And so I'm anxious that I won't have, it's like you're looking at negating the isness of this moment, and how the past influences this moment in how we think about the future. It's not that the future actually exists. It's only existing in the thinking of our minds and in the emotions of anticipating the future. As in, I'm either excited or I'm anxious or something else. So again, the intention of this particular podcast is to help you, support you, and empower you to look at the both and. People will say, here's another example. People will say, oh my God, these great things are happening to me. I've got more money, I've got more friends, more clients, my home is doing great, my doggy is doing great, but I'm feeling not feeling excited about that. In fact, I'm feeling kind of sad. How can I have great things happening, but how can I have great things and feel the sadness? Like how is that possible? And it's possible because there's so many different dimensions of us. There's so many possibilities of what's occurring in us, and we're working all of that out and working it all into integration. And so the more that we can listen to, oh, here's this part, and this is saying this, and oh, here's this part, and this is saying this. It's like having a family of people living inside this particular body. And you go, how is that possible? And it's possible because it is possible. And I don't have a short answer for you other than that's just what it is. So there's a particular form of, it's a model of, I'll say psychotherapy, but it's a model of spiritual evolution, I'll say, in that it's not when I think of therapy, I think of that there's something needing to be fixed, where in psychosynthesis, it's the recognition of all these different elements and aspects of us and how we can begin to integrate. What are some tools and skills that support and empower us to integrate all these parts so that there's a wholeness and a unified trajectory, a unified sense of here's where we want to go. And how do we do that? And one of the easiest ways, the simplest way, is to begin to listen for the yes and, the both and to just explore that. All right, well, that's it for today. If you have any questions, or thoughts or feedback, please don't hesitate to email me at rosie@theparadigmshifts.com or check out my website at theparadigmshifts.com. All right, big hugs to you. Bye for now.